Leah's a strong businesswoman.
Yep.
Janet's a strong businesswoman. I'm a strong businesswoman. Who says that we cannot be nurturing creatures in our respective fields and careers? That's what being a woman is. Being a woman means that you can carry the weight and the burden of what has been placed on you and do so with a smile on your face and with heels on your feet.
Personal injury law firm, and I would say that while lawyers are pretty evenly split, 50-50, like women and men, in the field of personal injury specifically, I think women are still the minority. And I think you all can attest to this driving around.
Right.
Do you ever see billboards of female personal injury attorneys?
Just like you?
Yeah. Which we've learned today, you have 5. So.
Yeah, so, and hopefully more to
Awesome.
come. But you know, I advertise with Channel 5 with UniView. I was advertising with UniView on, and then of course Lamar Billboards. And all of them have said, you're the first and only personal injury attorney we've ever produced a commercial for.
Wow.
These billboards. There are women on billboards along with other men in their law firm. But as far as like a solo practitioner, like a woman-owned personal injury law firm, there's just not many. In Texas, there's just not many. Nationwide, I'm just not sure. But as far as whether it works to my advantage or disadvantage, I would say it goes both ways. Sometimes I've had clients question my, ability or experience, because not only was I a woman, I was 26 when I started practicing. So they were like, "Are you even old enough to be a lawyer?" Like, I would get that question a lot from clients.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
But my male counterparts, 26, 27-year-olds, just because they were a man, their abilities were never.
So you saw the difference in the
Absolutely.
So, okay, so while we're on you, I definitely want to ask, do you think that drives you? Because I have to believe that you had a lot of probably no's before you just, and did it ever make you feel like, man, you know what, I don't know if I can do this, or I don't want to do this?
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was like, that just makes me want to, try harder. I was very discouraged for a long time. And it wasn't until, people started taking a chance on me and I was able to prove myself and show them like, hey, these are the kind of settlements that you're going to get with me. And now my settlement numbers speak for themselves, and that has never been an issue since. But those first 1 or 2 years, every single day was a struggle. So I would say, as far as the personal injury field, being a woman, I would say was a hindrance at first. But once you have the opportunity to prove yourself, I don't see it as an issue at all anymore. In fact, it's almost like it's helping me, because there's no other women on billboards, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, or there's no other women on, commercials that are advertising personal injury. So
you might inspire the next Leah Wise to, and same thing with you guys.
Hopefully.
Right? You might
I hope so.
inspire them.
That's the goal.
So then, what I want to touch base on is, because I think there's this notion, and everyone here is in a relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there's this notion that you can't be a strong woman without having a man as well. It's almost like, if I'm strong, then I'm a feminist, and we all just hate men.
Or I don't need a man.
Or I don't need a man, right? And you guys are all in relationships, right? Happy. I think everybody.
He's like, Brett, you're like,
I hope you're in a relationship.
I'll say, to be really honest, it's definitely had its moments, for sure. When I first met my husband, I was 19, so I was still in that figuring out my life phase. I wasn't going to school. I was working at a medical clinic, making $8.14 an hour, and thinking I was big balling, right? Because I wasn't making minimum wage. And so, you know,
We're going to McDonald's.
Yeah. You don't have to order on the dollar menu where guys, like, you can splurge. But it was, you know, you kind of get into that routine. And when I finished my degree back in 2017, I got my bachelor's degree in communications. And all of a sudden, these possibilities, these doors opened up with that. We definitely had to do a lot of reevaluation of what the dynamic of our marriage looked like, because by that point we had already been married for 4 years. I think that, you know, it was hard at first to kind of look at the position of, or that role of no longer the traditional, like, subservient sort of wife, right? And I've always been a very strong-willed, stubborn woman. My heritages are very strong, stubborn, and hard-headed, and so my dad used to joke when we were little that, you know, whoever ends up marrying us is in for a surprise. But
does jealousy ever play a role? Not jealous in the sense where they're jealous of your success, just like, hey, I want, like, because being on social media,
jealous of their time, you mean?
Yeah, time. Does that ever play a factor?
It is, but it's time management. I think it just boils down to, the communication and
Or
the
the
time
needs of the
management.
person too.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I am very strong-minded. I have a very strong character, and I'm very, like, goal-oriented, and I have to make an actual written list before the day starts. But no, I mean, we're different, you know. He actually, like I was telling you, it depends on the needs of the person. He's actually a person that does require for me to have time management and spend time with him, and for there to be that relationship time aside from work.
Yeah.
But in my case, I divide my time between 2 businesses, 4 kids, and a husband. So it can be hard. It can be hard juggling all of that, and the fact that I'm so strong-willed and just goal-oriented also, because I'll say, well, you know, we need to do A, B, C, and D, while he's like, well, let's just try B and C, you know? So I've learned to back off and just say, okay, we'll do that. And then I always tell him, anyways, if it fails, it's your fault.
Marriage.
So it's a compromise, I think.
So we're gonna throw you in here. What about you? Because you're everywhere. So
I think that it really depends on the partner. Like, that's the bottom line. Are you a confident, secure man who is okay with being with a confident and secure, established woman?
Right.
And I've been in relationships where it was an issue. Thankfully, in my current relationship, it's not. All of the pictures you see on Instagram, he takes them for me, so he doesn't mind at all. You know, that I've, you know, put myself out there and that I posted my swimsuit. Like, he's taking those pictures. I think it really just depends on the partner.
Yeah.
He himself, he's also a lawyer. He's, you know, a little older. He's 37. He has his own law firm, so, you know, he has a ton of stuff to worry about. He doesn't worry about what I'm doing or who I'm messaging. You know what I mean? So
That's awesome.
So let me dive deep. How did y'all meet?
So he slid into my DMs.
Yes.
He slid into my DMs
Modern
a few years
21st
ago.
century,
Like, for real.
This was
that's what
actually
he did.
a few years ago, and it was, you know, just a networking brunch that we had, and he asked me out on a date, and I didn't respond.
Oh yeah.
That's how the best ones start.
Yeah, but we stayed friends. He was
agree.
super cool. Like, he knew that I was not ready to be in a relationship with him. We stayed friends, and then about almost a year ago, we reconnected, and we've been together ever since.
That's
Awesome.
amazing. The friends is how you do it.
Yeah, so we already knew each other
Good
really
basis.
well by the time
Yeah.
we started dating. Yeah.
So quick question: how are your arguments like? Like, do y'all like?
I object.
No, he doesn't argue. He
That's
doesn't
what
argue.
I
You got one of
I'm a very emotional, like, person. I'm like, I have a lot of emotions. I'm very lively, and he's very kind of like Janet. Like, you're very, like, calm,
Composed.
like, composed. Doesn't like yet. He does not yell. So,
I yell. At my kids, though.
Yeah, you see.
So they're not as dramatic as you would think they would be. They're actually
Oh, wow.
pretty tame. So no juicy
Pieces
gossip.
across the room.
Right.
And I feed off of people's energy. So, like,
So you're
if he's
adaptable.
always calm, like, I'm not going to be the person throwing things and yelling. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't have any juicy gossip. They're actually pretty boring.
No, but that's perfect.
But that's healthy.
Yes.
Yeah, it is healthy.
Boring is
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
No, so I definitely want to throw this one in there because you guys are all at different levels as far as womanhood. You have 4 kids. You don't have a
no
baby
kids,
yet.
unmarried.
So is there plans?
There's no active plans at the moment.
Okay.
We have talked about it, and if it happens, it happens.
There
If
we
not,
go.
then no big deal.
Those different levels that you're at.
He
And
wants to know if you want to have one of our kids.
Please take one.
2 of them are look the same.
Okay.
Okay.
you wanna,
So you can have one and we keep one.
Yeah.
we'll switch them out.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Let's make a
so
deal.
with your situation, go ahead and you just take it away.
So I've been married for going on 8 years this year. We started trying to have kids back in 2014, 15. So January 2015, we started, it's so weird to say like that, right? Like actively trying to have kids. I'm just like here telling you like, we were having a lot of sex.
Just then, not no more.
Yeah, just then.
Yeah. The favorite part of the
It's
relationship.
so weird, yeah.
Yeah. So the euphemisms that we all try to, yeah. So January 2015, we're like actively trying to have a kid, and all of my girlfriends around me, all of my coworkers, everybody. I mean, I had a coworker who got off the pill and within 2 weeks was pregnant.
Ooh.
So I thought like, shit, this is really easy. Like, all right, let's do this. By December, we'll have a baby. And then it was like March, and it was April. And so obviously, like the first few months, you're not like super gung ho, right? Like
Yeah.
you're still trying to figure out that like navigation of what that mental like scope looks like. But by like July, August, my birthday's in mid-August. By the time we got to August, we've been going for about 8 months trying. And you're doing all the weird like, you know, temperature checks and tracking. It's such a weird. It's weird.
Temperature, what?
I'm not gonna explain it to you. Just
Okay.
COVID.
yeah, let's go with that one. And so you're doing all these things, right? And so you get to August, it's been 8 months now.
It's just strategic.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very calculated.
Right.
And nothing, right? So now you're like, your brain is starting to like do this weird.
Wander. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're Googling, don't go on WebMD, don't do any of
Yeah.
that. And so I'm like, man, like, am I broken? Like, is there something wrong with me? So I had my like annual then in February, go in and tell my doctor like, hey, we've been like trying for a whole year. Every time I get my period, I'm sitting there in like the restroom crying. It's not pretty, right? Like I'm not okay with what my life looks like every month. She's like, okay, you know, we can definitely start doing these tests. And I said, I already Googled it, I already know what they look like. Can we do the more like benign things, like the really super non-invasive, holistic ones? Like let's start really basic and then work our way up. So that's what we did. So every 6 months I would go in for a checkup and we would do like, okay, the next test is gonna be this, and the next test is gonna be this, so blood work. And then go see a geneticist, and then go see, so I was getting all these things done, and everything was coming back like A-okay, right? So now you're going like, well, I don't understand it. Then my husband goes in and gets checked. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now what is it? And you're going through all of these things and everything's coming back. Okay, so you're just feeling like a little bit more broken every month. And your heart breaks every month. And you feel like you're the only one in the whole world feeling like this because everybody around me is having babies. And it did. It felt like, you know when you really want a car and you see it driving around everywhere? That's what it felt like. It was like you really wanted a baby and everybody around you was having a baby. We've hit this plateau where like now we have to do the really poking and prodding ones. And so we do. And it's October of 2018. I had already left the medical field. I'm in this new career of co-working. I'm managing the co-working space. And I'm on this high, right? Like I'm doing this great thing with my life. There's nothing that can bring me down. My husband's super supportive. Like we're rock stars right now and everything's going up. And you do this very, 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 very painful. I can't stress, it was so painful.
Wow.
Procedure. And then you get the results, and they tell you that the parts of you that are supposed to be where they're supposed to be aren't. And on paper, you now have an 18% chance of conceiving naturally. And statistically, that means you're infertile. And when I tell you that your whole world crumbles when you get news like that, I mean, Leah and I talked about this a couple months ago. I don't really remember what compelled me and why. But I took a picture of me in full sobs, sitting on the edge of my jacuzzi tub. I cried off all of my makeup. I mean, I had full makeup when I had gone in for that procedure, got the results, and had cried it all off. And I took this picture, and I put it out there on the internet and said, this is the lowest point I'll ever be in my life, and I want this for posterity purposes. And I knew that it was out in like the interweb, and I knew it was public, and I knew people could see it. But in that moment, it was more just, so I wanted to remember what that felt like. So when I saw that picture, because I'm a very like photographic memory kind of person, I can recall what I wore, what I was feeling, all these things when I look at a picture. I wanted to be able to look back on that and recall that moment and know that I picked myself up and don't feel like that anymore. And I got, within seconds, in my DMs on Instagram, Facebook Messenger, comments, Renee, I had no idea. I'm going through that too. My whole world felt like this giant ray of sunshine all of a sudden. In my worst moment, I no longer felt alone, and it was a weird switch. And I knew right then and there why God put that on me. Was because my voice is really loud, even though I'm still as little as I am, I have a loud voice, and God said, Renee, use this to make somebody else not feel so
Because you were going to be strong enough.
Because you're going to be strong enough
To be somebody's support system.
Yes.
Right.
And I have never shied away from that since then. So when I get a message or something, or I post something about the struggle, the journey, this path that I'm on, I don't sugarcoat it. It's not an easy topic, right? But because people have put so much taboo on it, I felt like I was by myself, and so do so many other women. And
So with
now
that
I
being
don't
said,
feel that.
What do you have to say for someone going through that struggle right now? Being, and it sounds like such an ugly word to say, like being infertile.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you told me was, at some point, it made you even feel like a woman. Like the thing that makes you a woman.
I lost that.
Yeah.
I lost that. Leah's a strong businesswoman.
Yep.
Janet's a strong businesswoman. I'm a strong businesswoman. Who says that we cannot be nurturing creatures in our respective fields and careers? That's what being a woman is. Being a woman means that you can carry the weight and the burden of what has been placed on you and do so with a smile on your face and with heels on your feet.
There we go. Speaking about babies, yours. So you've had 2 different sets, and we're going to focus on the twins for right now. What was that like? And I'll let you touch base on the tragedy. What was the tragedy like?
Of the twins?
Yeah.
Well, it was a very difficult birth. I was 7.5 months pregnant, and twin B detached from his placenta and literally started pushing out in the middle of the house, in the middle of the night. And you were at work because they had you working till really late that night, and my older boys were asleep because it was a school night. So I'm like literally just bleeding out in my room, and I can't move because I'm barefoot, and the more I move, the more I'm like almost gonna slip and fall while I'm pregnant with twins. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with my babies? It's not time yet. All these emotions, but we go back to my character. I'm very strong and goal-oriented. So my goal is like, okay, where's my cell phone? Where's my diaper bag that's ready? Let's get 911 on the phone because Matthew can't take me. So I just started an action girl. Like, that's who I am.
Survival mode.
So I called Matthew. I called my ex-husband because I thought to myself, if I pass, my children are gonna need a support system. So I called him and I said, look, this is happening. and your children need you right now, so I need you to go to the hospital for them, to be there for them. And he was, he's a great man, and he did show up, and he was there with his kids, with our kids. And then I called my sister in California, and I said, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but I need you to talk to mom and dad. And she starts crying on the phone, and I'm not gonna cry, but she's telling me, like, no, I'm not calling mom and dad because nothing's gonna happen. And it was just crazy emotional chaos. There was literally blood everywhere. My oldest gets up and he starts to freak out because he thinks someone broke in and stabbed me. And I said, son, I'm okay. I've already called 911. They're on their way. Don't freak out. You and your brother are gonna come with me in the ambulance and we're gonna get through this. Well, ambulance doesn't show up for 45 minutes. They take me to the wrong hospital. That's another 30-minute drive back. I finally get to the right hospital. At this point, I'm white. I mean, there's just no more color in me. My eyes kept rolling back. And the doctor basically looks at Matthew and says, you know, this doesn't look good. It's too much blood loss. She literally just hemorrhaged home alone. So who do you want to save? The kids or her? His immediate response was like, you need to save her. She can give me kids later. I'm like, no, these kids are alive. I'm sorry, I'm not signing that. Long story short, it was so emotional. He was a crying mess. Everybody in the room was crying. And I just said to the doctor, just do what you can and just let it be what it's gonna be. It's in God's hands. And so it took them some time. They stopped the bleeding. They took me into the OR. They did an emergency surgery. Thankfully, our twins were born so healthy. They were 6 pounds each, to my surprise.
Already at 7
months.
months.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were
And boys
ready.
are usually, like, they take a little longer to cook.
Yes, my oldest 2 did. I was like 40 weeks. Yeah, they did.
How many pints of blood did you have in you?
I think like 2.
Yeah.
I
They
don't
told her
remember.
they
I
didn't
could
even
be
know how she was
wrong.
moving at that point. And I remember, so long story short, I talked all this stuff before the baby was here. I was like, I'm not gonna cry. I've had nephews, this is nothing.
It's a different.
So she was funny this whole time. She's on the brink of death, but she was funny. So when she told me, there was a nurse, and it was like an older African lady. She
Big
was like,
booty,
she was,
yeah. Big
It
booty.
really was huge. But anyways, she's about 50, 60 years old. And she tells me, your wife is going to be okay. Man, I picked this lady up and I hugged her.
Oh,
and
yeah,
this
that was
one's
when they
about to
stopped the
die.
bleeding, yeah.
And she goes, hey, stop flirting.
Wow, I love
So-
that story.
And even when the babies were born, again, she had it in her mind, I'm not gonna cry. That's what I've been telling her. So when I first saw that little white baby, I just choked up and I cried, like just overwhelmingly. And she goes, I can't tell if it's you or if it's them. Shut up.
I was like, stop crying.
Like, the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it was traumatic to say
It
the
was
least.
traumatic.
But thank God, they were healthy. They were ready to go. But because of my blood loss, I had to stay for 10 days. And they were giving me transfusions, and each transfusion is like 12 hours long.
Oh my God.
So yeah, nonetheless, it had to be a few days before they can release me home. But
you were daddy daycare before mama came home.
I was daddy daycare, but they stayed there.
they can't.
Because
leave
our
the
youngest
hospital
twin,
until I
our
leave.
youngest one, he didn't eat until he felt his mom. Like legit, he would not eat.
Yeah, it was about
Yeah.
a day already, and they told me he's not, because I would send my breast milk, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, he's not latching, like, we don't know what's wrong, so they put a feeding tube. And I said, the thing is he hasn't seen me. Like, he
She
needs
knew.
his mom.
But what's crazy
And
is they
so-
told her, don't move, you cannot leave.
But once that feeding tube came in, I just told him, go get me a wheelchair. We are doing skin to skin, and I'm gonna latch him on. And I did, and sure enough, he just started eating.
Oh.
And now he won't stop.
And now he won't stop, yeah.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah.
It's got a really good, like, that's like a good, like, happy ending.
Yeah.
It's a great ending, but it just goes to show that whether you're trying to conceive, whether you are conceiving, or whether you can't, there's struggle. Yeah. There's gonna be struggle in your daily life and emotions and in your partners, in just nature. It's on its own, and we just have to trust God and trust the process. Like that, at the end of the day, I think that's more important. And you know, I believe in my heart that if it's in God's plan, you are going to conceive.
I'm a really good, right?
Yes.
I was living a very split life. To certain people, I was confident and strong and empowered and all of this stuff, and then to other people, I was very demure and weak and subservient and very weak-minded. I was living a dichotomy, and knowing what I've done through that, having resurfaced through that, pay attention to yourself. Your body is screaming at you, your mind is screaming at you, your heart is screaming at you to be your authentic self.
I'm a high-strung person. I don't know about you all, and maybe this isn't the best advice for everybody, but for somebody like me, like a little Leah, I would say just enjoy life. Like, enjoy the ride. Like, you're gonna be okay. And I know that's like counterintuitive because I'm not saying work hard, you know what I mean? I'm saying enjoy your life and just take a breath because it's gonna pass so fast.
You know, I feel like not enough women support each other.
Yes.
And people are so concerned about, does she look like me? Does she act like me? Does she have more money than me? And I feel like none of that should matter. You are you, and you have your own story, and you have your own power. And you need to put yourself out there, and you need to clap for yourself. And the more you clap for others, the more God's gonna bless you.
Amen.
And honestly, I feel like staying humble, hustling really hard, and being kind is all that should matter. And that's gonna be my next shirt.
You said
because honestly, you know, like I said earlier, the pop-up shops is my second business. It's gotten very competitive. But you know what? I don't even worry about it. I don't worry about it. For one, the sun shines for everybody.
Yeah.
For two, you know, there's obviously a fee behind my work. You know, I'm working at the end of the day. And my fee is so minuscule compared to my competition. And people will even ask me, it's so crazy because even my own vendors will ask me, why do you charge so little? And I do it because at the end of the day, I want you to succeed. I want you to make money that day. I want your business to grow. I want you to shine. It's not about me. Yes, of course, I'm gonna make some money because like I said, I'm working, right? But at the end of the day, are you making money? That's what matters to me, you know, and everyone else, you know, my husband, I don't know if you know him, but he told me once, because in the beginning of Rep Shop, there was a lot of like, you know, even though I'm not an attorney, there was a lot of, I don't know if I'm capable. You know, I've been doing insurance for 5 years. Now I'm starting something new. I don't know what's gonna come out of it. Long story short, he told me, you know, look at it like a race. Everybody starts the race, but not everybody gets to the finish line. So you don't need to worry about what everyone else is doing. You worry about starting and what it's gonna take for you to get there to where you wanna go, whatever that goal is. And I can honestly say I've only reached the first milestone of Rep Shop. There's still more to come, but I'm waiting because I'm a very patient person and I'm always late everywhere because of that. And I'm waiting on God. I'm waiting on God's timing, and when the time comes, then it will. And if it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be, and that just means He has something better for me.